me create a function to modify a record from a CSV file. In order to create the function, you can start with the keyword def followed by name of the function, function symbol and colon. Modification is done on the basis of item name. So the item name whose details you want to modify, that item name should be passed as an argument, which means this will be read in the main function, so that when you call this function it is passed as an argument, or if you want you can read this quantity inside this function. Now let me take a CSV file. Suppose this is the CSV file, stock.csv. It contains several records. To explain this function, let me take three records. This is record number 1, the stock ID, stock name, price and the quantity. Now these are comma separated values. That's the reason why it is written like this. Now second record and the third record. So from this binary, from this CSV file, I want to modify a record with the item name given in this variable. So let me take an example for this variable. Let it be B. So from this CSV file, I want to modify the record whose item name is B, which means I want to modify the second record. I don't want to modify item code, item name, price and quantity. Only the item name should be modified. B should be replaced with a new item name. Certainly you can write a document string. Step 1. File exists in the computer's hard disk. My program cannot access a file directly from the hard disk, so it should be taken from hard disk and placed in random access memory for reading purpose. Taking a file from hard disk and placing it in random access memory is known as opening the file, and in order to open the file, Python contains the open function. Open function takes 3 arguments. Here we need only 2 arguments. The third argument, let it be the default argument. So open function takes 2 arguments. First argument, name of the file that you want to open, stock.csv. The file name should be inside double quotes. Second argument, why you are opening the file. The file is opened for reading purpose, so you can use the file mode R, and the file mode must be inside double quotes. Let variable ifs point to this file. So file is opened for reading purpose. Now in order to read records from the CSV file, there is a function by the name reader. Now to the reader function, the file pointer should be passed. Only then Python will understand that the quantity should be read from this file. On seeing ifs, Python understands read is related to this file. Now reader is a function of the CSV module, so it should be called as csv.reader. Now csv.reader returns an answer. The CSV reader object is returned as answer, and the CSV reader object contains all the rows of this CSV file. And how are the rows maintained? They are maintained as a list. So your CSV reader object contains all the rows of the CSV file, and all the rows are maintained as a list. Now I want each and every element of the CSV reader object. So how do you get each and every element of the CSV reader object? You can write the code like this: for I in CRO. So for I in CSV reader object means you will get each and every element of the CSV reader object. Now each and every element is a list. Okay. Now if the item name present in I equal to I name, meaning this is the row to be modified. Okay. So if item name present in I, how do you get the item name? See, this is a list. For the first element the index is 0, for the second element the index is 1, and so on. So if you want to get the item name present in I, it must be written as I of 1. So if I of 1 equal to I name, meaning this is the list or this is the row to be modified. So here the new item name should be inserted. First the new item name should be entered from the keyboard and that should be inserted at this place, which means I of 1 equal to the new item name. Otherwise you don't have to do anything. Finally, the modified row should be appended to a list. So you can write LL, let LL be the name of the list. The modified row is appended into this list. So initially LL is an empty list. Okay, and once the use is over, don't forget you need to close the file. Now let me explain this part in a better way, because this is the area where you have doubt. Okay, so first LL equal to empty list. So now LL is empty. For I in CRO, which means you will get each and every element of the CSV reader object. I contains each and every element. So to begin with, I contains the first element of the CSV reader object. It is a list. So now I points to the first element of the CSV reader object. What is I of 1? This is I of 0. This is I of 1, and so on. So now I of 1 is A. What is the item that you want to modify? We want to modify the item whose item name is B. So this is B. So A equal to B, condition wrong, control will come to the else part, nothing to be done. Why this condition was wrong? Because this is not the row to be modified. So control came to else part, nothing to be done. Now I contains the first row that is appended to the list LL. So now list LL contains the first row, that is this row comes there. You can see the first row appears in LL. Now I contains the second element of the CSV reader object. So second element comes in I. Each and every element is a list. So now your I points to the second element. Now what is I of 1? This time your I of 1 is B. So B equal to B, condition true. And why the condition was true? Because this is the row, this is the list to be modified. So here condition is correct, control comes inside. Assignment operator means right hand side assigned to left hand side. Enter the new name from the keyboard. So instead of B, I want to give a new name that must be entered from the keyboard. Example taken D, and D is inserted at the I of 1. So this is I of 1. So this B is replaced with a D. So you can see the second row modified. The new item name comes here. Now append the second row to the list LL. So now I contains the second row. It is the modified second row. You can see that is appended to LL. So now LL contains the second element. The second row is inserted into LL and the modified second row is inserted into LL. Now I contains the last element of the CSV reader object, the third element, this one. You can see I points to the third element. Now what is I of 1? It is C. Now C equal to B, condition wrong, control comes to else part, nothing to be done. And why the condition was wrong? Because this is not the row, this is not the list to be modified. So anyway, I contains the third row, the last row, it is appended to LL. So now LL contains one more element, the third row. Now no more elements are there. ifs.close. This file is removed from the computer's memory. Remember, it is still there in the hard disk. So your LL contains, the list LL contains the modified row. Now this one should be written to this file. Step 1. The file must be opened for writing purpose. So how can you open a file? Use the open function. Open function takes 3 arguments: argument 1, argument 2, argument 3. What is argument 1? The name of the file that you want to open. File name should be inside double quotes. What is argument 2? File mode. It is writing purpose. Let me make use of W, and W in double quotes. What's the third argument? The new line character. I want to change the default new line character because after writing a row, a line should not be inserted unnecessarily. A blank line should not be inserted. So let me change the new line character to empty string. Okay, and let variable OFS point to this file. So file is opened for writing purpose in W mode. What is the speciality of W mode? The existing contents are deleted, and when you write a data, it is written to the beginning of the file. Now in order to write this data to the CSV file, the writer function is there. The file pointer should be passed as an argument. Only then Python will understand. Using writer function, data should be written to this file. Writer function is a function of the CSV module, so it should be called as csv.writer. Writer function returns an answer. The CSV writer object is returned as answer, and it may be collected in a variable CWO. Now this variable contains many useful functions for writing row to the CSV file. So if you want to write multiple rows in one go or in one pass, this writer object contains write rows function. So let me call the write rows function. The multiple rows must be passed as an argument, and multiple rows is there in the nested list LL. It's a list of lists. Okay, now write rows is a function of the CSV writer object, so it should be called as CWO.writeRows. And what the write rows does is, this complete data is written to the CSV file, and you can see the modified row comes in the CSV file. Once the use is over, don't keep the file in the computer's memory. You can close the file. So this is how you modify a record from a CSV file.